Welcome, everybody.
Hey, good afternoon. It is officially afternoon.
Yeah.
Welcome to our weekly check-in. Thank you for spending the time with us, whether it is right now or a little bit later, which is right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always right now.
It's always whenever the time is right for them.
Yes, that's the thing. So yeah, a little weekly check-in. How's it going? What is up with y'all? So if you are with us live, feel free to comment, and we love that kind of interaction. Not just because I thrive on attention.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a conversation instead of just you and I having a conversation
Which
like we
is
always
super fun.
do.
I mean,
Yeah, but we always
for
have
real.
that. So
Yeah,
to add more people into the conversation and see different perspectives of what we're talking about,
yeah,
and thoughts and where it hits them, it's cool.
yeah. I'm especially eager for that today because today's kind of a repeat. Right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's kind of a repeat because so we've been doing this thing this whole month, which man has just been lighting me up on the inside. I keep trying to not just understand, but to really just live into, feel my way into this reality that God's not chintzy,
Right.
that there really is an overflow. There's a super abundance. And I think maybe, and I wonder if you share this too, Alicia, is I think from my perspective as, ministry leader, like just was having a meeting with our accountant guy talking about some of the money control kinds of things. It's just so easy to be like, yeah, we don't have enough to do what we want to do. Right?
Yeah.
And easy for me to forget that, we're not talking about a God who's cheap. So how do we actually live into that? Not just with ministry planning, but just in life. In life, I mean, we were just talking before. There's a need going on in your household where you need more, right? Like what I think we all live with that, right? I think we could all find an aspect in whether it's our homes, our bank accounts, our just the energy that we have. Where I think we could all be in a place where I need more. So how do you hold on to that and the promise that God is a God that invites us to live into God's abundance? Tricky, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember we tried to talk about this a few weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
It was rough.
Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that.
But it was it was difficult to really talk our way through. But we're not just talking. Maybe part of why I think that was a little tricky when we first started this is because that was just kind of a setup for the whole month. But really, this Sunday is not just the concept of God's abundance, but specifically an overflow of love. That's been the what do you call that? Like the tagline for the whole month, that love is rising. And
yeah, the hashtag.
Hashtag, that's it. So this Sunday, the idea is pour out love, right? So, I mean, it's not just there's an overflow and look at all that mess, love dripping everywhere, but there's an intention behind it, and so, to really participate in that overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that look like? What does it look like for us to, I mean, it's more than generosity, but that's a big part of it. What does it look like for us to really pour out love? To whom? In what ways? How do we get in on that too? Like if it's an overflow, we're soaking wet too to stay in the image, right? So what does that look like?
Yeah, and to love everyone, right? Like if there's an overpouring of love, then there should be no one that's not drenched.
Right. Right.
So how do we live into that? Is that your question?
Well, it is now. Well done. I love these.
Great.
You're always so good at this.
So tell me how that works for you. Let's change these rules.
No, just keep it. Keep going. Keep running that ball down the field.
I don't know. I
see you do this. I think if you've interacted with Alicia, not just in your ministry leadership position, but this is something I think that you do, right?
I mean, I try to make sure everybody feels loved and like they belong. That's important to me. But that's easy for me to do here in my position, right? It's not always
Yeah.
easy outside these
Who said it
walls.
was easy, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and obviously I know more about you from the lens of just our working life, you know.
Right.
So more of what I see you do is that intentional, and maybe that's part of it. Here, you may be more intentional because it's connected to this call on your life
Right.
to minister, to be a minister of the gospel in this context. So I think I do that too. I'm a little bit more intentional in my spiritual life here.
Right.
I would hope to be the same person in all settings, but it's a little easier to be intentional because this is my job.
Right.
So how do we really do that?
But God has called us, yes, God has called us into ministry.
Yeah.
And called us to do this job, right? But God's called us into this world to love
Exactly.
everyone as well. So it should be
Exactly.
as easy. Not that I'm saying it is, but it should be as easy because God's called us to everything, not just to Wesley Church. God's called us here on earth.
You know, and what you're pointing to is something that's really for all of us, because I think we all have various reasons why we turn on the intention a little bit more, right? Whether it's, you know, a vocational idea like this is my job, or the jobs that you all have. I mean, they're all ministries too. It
Right.
might not have an official ministry label, but really that's the point. Bible says you're working not for people, but for God.
Yeah.
So whatever your job is, even if you're retired, whatever the things you do to employ your energy, you're working for the Lord.
Well, when we minister to our friends just as they minister to us, right?
Right.
We're experiencing life together. We're on this journey together of life. So each and every one of us has the role of being a ministry leader, right? Because if we didn't work here and we were friends, you would still be ministering to me about things that you feel called, right? And I would be doing the same to you. So we're all like ministry people.
And the idea is, yeah, exactly. That's great. And the idea is that ministry is an overflow, right? You know, otherwise it's rationing.
Yeah. You don't want that.
No, you don't want that. Like, you know, it's like there's the, what's that card game? Anyway, there's the difference in the card games where you only give people like 7 cards, right? And the ones where you give out like the whole deck, you know. But even then, there's still this like one for you, one for you, one
Right.
for you, one for me, you know. And everyone watches that too to make sure you're not cheating.
Right. Make sure you give me all my cards.
Yeah. Give me all my cards and deal from the top. You know, and that's part of why those games can be fun,
Right.
because there's a limited resources.
Right.
You know, either you're trying to get all the cards or none of the cards or whatever is happening there. But when you're talking about ministry, the whole and really just life in God's name, then it's the whole mechanism is me being overwhelmed with the overflowing grace and love of God that receives me as me and sends me as me into the world to touch people's lives, to help people, to be a part of God's answer to their questions and needs and all that. That's the idea, right?
Mm-hmm. Not always easy.
That's what I was just thinking. Like, so why does it get to be so hard?
Well, and I feel like you don't always have the answer, right? So
Yeah.
ministering is not always having the answer, but
Right.
but just as it says, just showing love. Maybe just sitting there with a friend that's in need and listening. Maybe letting maybe a friend just found out something and just sitting there and letting them process it with you, right? It doesn't have to be, I have all the answers, because I surely don't. You might, but I surely don't. But it's a different part. It's the pouring out our love and kindness to each and every person that we're encountered with.
Yeah. I think sometimes one of the because you said it like maybe I have a lot of the answers. That's something that has always been a part of me where I want to have all the answers. And not just like, I mean, if you come to me with a need, not necessarily I want to have the answer for you, but I want to make sure that I help you, right? Like I want to somehow resolve the thing that's got you in front of me.
Yeah.
Whether you're just, someone I meet or, one of my deep friends or my kids, like,
you want to fix it.
I want to fix it. Yeah. Yeah. I tend towards wanting to fix. And I think a lot of times, part of what's going on in that is, I want to help you, but I also want to feel better about whatever it is that you've brought to me. Like when I've got a friend who's in grief, I'm much more interested in somehow helping that person feel better
right.
than, just sitting there in that awful moment.
Right. But sitting there sometimes is all they need.
Yeah.
Because they don't need you to try and make them
need.
feel better. Like, especially in grief, you don't want to, I feel like I find myself sometimes saying things like, God had a plan. But when you're the person in grief, you're like, but why would God's plan be?
What a stupid plan.
Right.
I hate that plan.
Right. And it almost is like encouraging them to like turn away from God. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're so angry at that point or hurting so bad that I feel like it'd be better for me. And I've tried to learn this. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm trying to learn to just listen instead of being like, listening and listening and listening and then having something to say at the end. It doesn't matter what I'm going to say. It's not going to make them feel better, but just letting them vent or just letting them process with you or listening to them sometimes means more than just having something to say.
Yeah.
Right? So pouring out love instead of words is sometimes a better answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this friend who is she's dealing with just a lot of sadness. She lost someone to COVID, and it was all of it was just especially painful. She's in ministry, and we were just connecting the other day, and she was doing the thing that I think a lot of us do is when we try to understand, and through that understanding, find a way to feel better about what's awful.
Yeah.
And so she was connecting it to the image of the wilderness, which is just there's a lot of wilderness imagery in Scripture. And one of the things that you learn as you study the wilderness scenes is God provides. I mean, God shows up in the wilderness, and what I was feeling in the moment was, what I'll do if I feel a wilderness is I'll try to make myself feel better by saying, yeah, but this is when God's going to provide, which then moves me right out of that wilderness feeling. And then instead of just being in that moment of loss, of feeling like things are broken and awful, I keep trying to make myself feel better with the promise of what's on the other side of it. Right? Which, man, it's tempting.
Or pulling at the strings of trying to find something positive to make yourself feel better.
Yes.
When you just need to be in the moment of the sorrow or the hurting, or just embrace that moment. You can't always find like a positive in it.
I mean, that's what's really twisting me up, right? Because I tend towards being an optimist, and I think that's okay. I think that's fine. But, what's more faithful? Finding a positive wrinkle on a sad situation, or just trusting through this sad situation. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That God is still with me in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's easy to say, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, like, it's okay. I found myself saying that this morning. Like, just know, like, whatever comes your way, like, God's with you. And I remember walking away and saying, that was dumb. That person knows God's with them. That doesn't make the moment that they're going through right now any better. doesn't make them. I mean, yes, it's a nice reminder, but it didn't make it.
I feel like I did the same exact thing, potentially with the same exact person.
Oh, we're failing. I'm really sorry to the person that we did that to.
Hey,
We love you. When we should have just been listening.
Yeah.
And should have just been.
Yeah. Right.
Listening. I don't know.
So, and I think part of it is if we would spend more time contemplating on our own and together the idea of the overflow, the superabundance of God's love, not the stuff God provides or the strength God gives or the healing God pours out or whatever else, but just the overflow of God's love that is the essential nature of who God is and who God is calling us to be. Man, I think a lot of that stuff would not get easier, but be a little more clear. I think there would be less pain, less need to try to fix things and make people feel better or whatever else. So shift back to then, what an invitation, right?
Yeah.
What an invitation for us to not to hide from the trouble of the world, but to really lean into it and to see that there is this. Jesus calls it that, this fountain of life inside the person, right? This overflowing fountain of life. He called it living water that just pours out, and that's out there. It's in the people in our lives, and it's a promise that's given to us. There really is an overflow of love. Like we really can do this.
Right.
We really can. And the cool thing is, like I'm saying, I've seen you do it, right? And I've had people reflect to me where I've done it.
Yeah.
You've done it. Right? You've done this. And so there's an invitation to just lean in even more.
So, Jeff said, it's super hard to just trust. For me, I need to trust and have faith that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord.
And who are called according to his purpose. That is such a great verse. Such a great verse. My man.
He's my friend.
Sounded like you were rationing there.
No, because I'm not giving any portion. No, it's all mine.
Just keeping.
He's all mine.
That's fine.
I love him.
That's
He's
fine.
so great.
He's great. But yeah, so I pray that this, if you walked this road with us, I hope that it helps. Like you've been feeling the connection with whatever is going on in your life, and maybe overflow is a little easier for you right now because everything's turning out great, and great, pour it out,
Yeah.
But maybe you're connecting with, some of the pain or some of the loss, some of the sorrow. You can still pour it out.
Yeah.
It's still there. Listen to God. That's really what all this boils down to. A couple of things to remind you guys as we wrap it up. If you're local, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow's Friday. We're doing our Fire in the Field.
Yeah, man. So
Fire
excited.
night.
So we've talked about, the weather's just kind of weird during this time of season anyway. If it starts to rain, we'll still do it. So don't let that stop you. If you're coming out for a Friday Fireside, the plan is to be out in the field and do it just like we talked about. But if for whatever reason it rains us out, it won't rain us out. It'll rain us in.
The percentage went down today. Yesterday was like 52%. Today is like 37 for tomorrow.
I'm feeling really good about this.
Woohoo! We're excited.
Yeah. So, and then service on Sundays, 9:30 and 11, 9:30.
No.
Oh, yes. I don't know why I hit you so hard. Yes. I got so excited.
So, Fireside, 6:30 on Friday.
Right.
On Sunday, it's our one service, Family on the 5th.
Yes.
So, it's at 10:30.
Right.
10:30.
Online and in person.
Yep, 10:30. So no 9 o'clock, no 9:30, no 11 o'clock. It is at 10:30, and at 11:30 we will all head back to the gym and have lunch together. We're excited about that. We got the food ordered already, so you don't need to bring anything. Just come, have fellowship together. Let us pour out love to one another.
Yeah, such a good setup.
So that's
excited.
on Sunday. Youth from 5 to 6. And that's it, right? And then the following, then we'll be back
roll into
on
the following week, which we will start the Pastor's Bible Study on Wednesday. next week.
It is next week already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
February's coming.
Oh
Woo.
my goodness, it's coming
Yeah.
fast.
All right. We love you guys.
Have-
We will see you soon.
Have a great week.